our presentation for the day. So today our guest presenter is Bryan Rothamel, Director of Economic Development for Culpeper County. Bryan?
Good morning, everyone. I know we have a small crowd in here and we have Trip Online, and many of you probably know a lot of this, but I also know that the chamber records these and posts them. So for the benefit of everyone, we'll go through all the information. So my name is Bryan Rothamel, the Economic Development Director for the County of Culpeper. People always ask me, what does that mean, especially when I'm at dinner parties? My job is to grow and expand the Culpeper County economy. We do that through a number of ways: large business attraction, small business development, ag development, and then workforce development. Those are kind of the four areas that my office works in. The idea is that all of them feed each other, so that think of the economy as a funnel. Large business development brings money from outside the area into the county, into the funnel, and then small business development and ag development keeps that funnel rotating and keeps that money within the county. The workforce development piece is kind of what speeds it all up and keeps that money circulating even faster. Today, we'll talk about the Culpeper Tech Zone because that's something that everyone has probably questions about or doesn't quite understand to the extent and the excitement that I have about it. When I came to the county, I was not hired because I was good at data center development. In fact, that question came up in my interview and my response. They said, "What do you know about data centers?" I said, "They're very expensive blinking lights," was my first response. But there's a lot that goes into it, and there's a lot that we're trying to take advantage of with the data centers. We have not stopped what we do for business attraction, small business development, and ag development. We actually spend more money in small business development and ag development than we do in business attraction and for our data centers. My budget for what we do for the Culpeper Tech Zone is about $10,000, I believe, the past year, maybe $15,000. We spend over $10,000 on the Culpeper County Conference. So to give you an idea, for one day of small business development, we're spending more money than we do on data center development. So our priority, we still have priorities across all four aspects that we work in. So there we go. So I like to start when I talk about, I've done this presentation a number of times. This is the first, I've kind of reorganized it for today. So we'll see how it comes out. But I always like to start off where are we in Virginia? I typically do this conversation, of course, for people outside of Culpeper, but for those that don't always know the state of Virginia, I've highlighted the town of Culpeper, which is an easy thing on a map to circle. You kind of see us there, but where we zoom in a little bit more, we are 50 miles to the Dulles area, to Data Center Alley, which is critical. We're less than 4 milliseconds, as one data center developer said, to that. And then we're outside of Washington, and then we also have good access to Fredericksburg. We're really seeing two hubs for data centers develop, obviously what happened in Northern Virginia, and then also what's happening in Fredericksburg. When you zoom in, that the town of Culpeper again highlighted, and the rest of the area. And then what does it look like? And the reason why I like to show this to people is our goal is that we largely want to see this stay the look and feel that we have today. The Culpeper Tech Zone represents 0.4% of our entire county. It is under 1,000 acres, all located on the side of the town of Culpeper here on the east, and then just outside of town limits, coming from this interchange down to this interchange. The 1,000 acres includes a wastewater treatment plant, a community college, and our and Culpeper Technical Education Center. So really, we're looking at about 700 acres of developable land. How did we get here? When I came in September 2021, we had 672,000 square feet of buildings for Swift and Equinix. And then over time, you can see how we progressed. April 2022, just outside of the tech zone, we had AWS. It's going to be 430,000 square feet. It can only be 430,000 square feet. The rezoning limits them to that. I do not include them in the CTZ total, but they are a data center that we do assist through the process. Cloud HU announced in July 2022, they can build up to 2 million square feet. These are all maximum square footage to keep. And then we had the Culpeper Tech campus in the town of Culpeper in July 2023. Right after that was Copper Ridge in September 23. DataBank announced in November of 23, 1.4 million. You see our total gets up to 8.3 million square feet. And then Edgecore was rezoned in December 2023. At this point in November, we originally in September 2021 had 5 tech zones in the county identified. In January of 23, we shrunk that to 4. And then in November, that shrunk down to the singular Culpeper Tech Zone, which used to be known as the McDevitt. There was one area that was from a different tech zone that kind of went into McDevitt, which is where DataBank is. But this is where we sit today. And then the Kaiser Family Farm was rezoned July 2024. And still, since then, these are the data centers that are approved and permitted in Culpeper to be built.
Where's that Edgecore?
Edgecore is along Knowles Mill Road. So if you know where Mullins Markings is, Mullins Markings will be right here.
Okay.
So it goes from Rogers Road intersection of Knowles Mill down to Mound Run.
Okay.
It is
So that
along
comes right up to
29.
666, basically.
Correct. So Mullins Markings is the only, and then
Yeah.
the Rogers Industrial Park.
It was Dowden's farm.
It is privy known as Dowden Eastern View. Yeah. So that's where we are today. Permitted up to 10.8 million square feet. We do not anticipate all 10.8 million square feet will be built. That's a maximum. Really, they're limited to the power that they can consume. Talking about powering the CTZ, the reason why we liked the idea of shrinking the tech zone is we realized that data centers come with strings attached, very tall, high strings. And that was something that we weren't really interested in seeing that crisscross and trailblaze across Culpeper. The advantage of developing where we have told them to go is that it follows a power corridor we already have existing. We currently are serviced by a 115 kV line to that area. Cloud HQ is necessitating an upgrade to a 230, so they will take down the 115 and put in a 230. The thing about 230s is they have to be looped. So that means if it's coming, it's got to be going. So when you build your first one, both sides of the pole will have a wire going forward, a wire coming back. The other substations that will be built will require 2 more 230s, which means we'll have 2 structures, 3 230s coming into the town environs, and 1 coming out of town environs. So all 4 arms will be powered, 3 in, 1 out. What really gets me going though about the Culpeper Tech Zone are the impacts. We're seeing the jobs impact. Our largest private employer in Culpeper County is under 400 people. Each construction site will have over 400 people. Some of them have said up to even 1,600 people. But we're looking at construction trades for the next decade of potentially 6 of our largest private employers. They all happen to eat lunch at the same time we eat lunch. That means we will be launching more food trucks. Restaurants will be able to be catering. They all happen to also get gas, pick up snacks, buy something for their family on the way out of town. All of these aspects, when you have construction people, it just brings more cash into that funnel. The electrical linesman work that will be needed, we've already had discussions with them on trying to get them connected for jobs, earthwork jobs. This is a decade of construction, is what's anticipated. there's just no opportunity that we can go for that brings us this type of impact for this long, and this specialized. Last year, Dyna Electric was the largest employer for at signing day, at career signing day, and they hired, I think it was 14 kids with 2 apprentice, if I remember correctly. They already are talking about who they're hiring this year. Like that, we have 20 kids that graduate from electrical that could be placed tomorrow. Every contractor we speak to, when they find out about CTEC being, especially in the zone, that ends the conversation just goes all there, and it's a call to Ainsley, and they're very excited.
Are there any housing impacts from all these people? Meaning, are they moving to the area?
Typically, they would not be moving permanently. So that's an area that we are lacking, especially in those short-term housing options, the hotels, motels, that we would like to take better advantage of. These are typically Monday through Thursday. The thing about Culpeper, though, that we have to realize is that we've grown at 10% every decade since the 1960s. We will grow at 10% this decade, and most likely we'll grow at 10% next decade. The advantages are we can start scaling up for how Culpeper will look in 2040 now, because we will have the people here Monday through Friday, and not those houses. As the construction trades start falling off, most likely, based off our growth patterns, we will start having the permanent residents that we are naturally seeing through local development. When we talk about full-time employment, each building is about 20 to 50 jobs. Each campus will have multiple buildings. Everyone always said, I really push back when people say that data centers do not create permanent jobs. They do. They just don't create a lot of permanent jobs per square foot. If I would have taken 100 acres and put 100 jobs and said, here's the manufacturer with 100 jobs, we'd all be high-fiving and celebrating and spiking the football. Instead, we're taking that same 100 acres, we're putting 1.5 million square feet. They're generating millions of dollars of taxes, and we're still have those 100 jobs. Still have 100 jobs that are not all college track, do have entry level, plus the contractors have full-time associated with the facilities. So for example, AWS anticipated half of the employees would be permanent AWS employees, and half would be contractors that come for janitorial services, security, HVAC services, whatever, maintenance, that are still specialized in high skilled trades, but not necessarily working for AWS. So you have to remember, we have to always think about that. We're creating a lot of economic opportunity there. The fiscal impacts, in calendar year 2024, we collected $9.7 million for computer equipment taxes. That means data centers, computers in the county last year was the equivalent of 12% of the real estate tax rate, which was 25% of last fiscal year's tax rate. This year, we will collect $11.2 million, which again is 12 cents of real estate tax rate, the equivalent of about 12 cents of real estate tax rate, which is about 28% of this year's rate. So this year's rate down, so it's a higher percentage. Without what we already have developed, our real estate would have to go up 12 cents to equate the same amount of money that we collect. That's on 672,000 square feet of space. We're trying to build 10 million more. When you look at another pushback, people say, well, they haven't done anything. They're just vacant land. The most expensive real estate assessments in 2025, I've combined a few campuses. Some properties are owned with 2 owners with the same campus. But if you look at the top 9, the top 8 are data center facilities. Equinix is the most expensive piece of real estate in Culpeper County at $113 million, Edgeworth $60 million. Look down at AWS. AWS is $46 million at number 6. That's 35% complete. It'll be 113 million. It'll jump to number 2 once the first building is complete. If you take those numbers, divide them by 100, times them by 43 cents, which is how we figure out how much you owe for real estate tax, vacant data center land brings in $1.1 million, almost 1.15. If you take just data centers in total, it's almost 2 million when you add in Equinix and Swift. So these are the most expensive pieces of dirt in Culpeper County. Again, without them, that's another penny and a quarter. I think a penny was almost 900, was about 900,000, not even a penny a quarter, just over a penny. I think a penny of real estate tax rate was about 900,000. So we are already seeing that vacant DC land gave us another penny towards real estate taxes this year. One thing we talked about is the incentive. I know that's something that likes to come up, just so people know. It's a $10 million investment and you hire 10 employees. So every time you invest 10 million and hire 10 employees, you're eligible for the incentive. It is 40% of taxes paid for 5 years. Culpeper County still keeps 60% of taxes paid. That means that's taxes that we were not collecting, we now are getting 60% of. We're only incentivizing taxes actually paid. So therefore, if you take an item and you remove it in year 4, you will not pay a tax on it. Therefore, we will not incentivize it. And then our computer equipment tax rate is the second highest in our competing localities. The tax incentive helps lower the bar for entry for 5 years. So we are a higher tax rate than Loudoun, Prince William, Henrico. Those are probably the 3 main hubs in Virginia right now, the 3 localities that have some of the most computer equipment right now. Even with the tax incentive, we're getting more money than you would if you were in Spotsylvania, Stafford, Fredericksburg, and Caroline, which is kind of the Fredericksburg hub. This chart is a lot of numbers, but the thing that is this last column here to the right, this is based off of our projections. We did an economic impact analysis. You see on the left is how we projected data centers to be built, what that total meant, the property tax on it, the real estate, the computer equipment tax, the real estate tax, other tax revenue we might collect, the data center sales and use exemption, which the state provides, the incentive that we would provide, the revenue share that we have with the town of Culpeper, and then the net tax revenue. This is an extremely conservative view. Intentionally, what we did with this is to give you an idea of how conservative a server was never replaced in this. So 15 years, not a single server was replaced. I don't know how many of you have kept computers for 15 years that operate 24 hours a day, but that's how we put these projections in. So you see the tax revenue, how that progresses. We're projecting over 100 million by 2030, 162 in 2031. And the reason why it trails off is because there was no replacement of equipment. If equipment is replaced, that number significantly jumps because we know how to incentivize it, and it goes to the depreciation at a higher. It goes at 70% in year 1 versus more depreciated later on. So what else do we do? So the thing about when we do new development is that we have to do these other aspects because we need the economy to, it's like a stool. You need all the legs to work. And that's why we've invested in Facts and Snacks, which there's one later on today. We invested in Central Virginia Small Business Development Center so that we do have someone here 3 Wednesdays a month, and then the Culpeper County Conference, which is our 1-day conference that we have in May annually now. The Culpeper County, Choose Culpeper Farms, we have, of course, Farm Tour, but then we have the CCF website, the Sips of Culpeper initiative, and then Work in Culpeper. We have the Jobs Board. We were a mock interviews sponsor with the school system, and then a partner for the Senior Jobs Fair. These are all critically important that they happened today. They happened over the last 4 years that I've been here, is because we need our small businesses to be as strong as possible. With cash coming into the market, we need small businesses to be able to take advantage of it just the same. That's what diversifies our economy. We do not only want to be data centers. We have applied and have fought for manufacturing projects. Those are the projects that I was good at when I got here. We continue to be good at those and go for them. We have a number of headwinds. We have a number of tailwinds that come with that. We haven't landed one of those, but we continue to fight and try to get those. When you look at these other initiatives in 2024, Choose Culpeper Farms was nominated for Best in Show at the International Economic Development Council, which is the top annual economic development award in the world. So very proud of not only CCF, Choose Culpeper Farms, a new initiative of ours, and we think impactful for Culpeper County, but also it's being viewed as impactful across economic development. Then you look at Sips of Culpeper last year or this year, we were also again nominated for one of the top 14 awards annual in the world, which is it was pretty surreal to get it one time, pretty crazy to go back to back. So that's what I had kind of prepared to discuss and show you Culpeper Tech Zone and thoughts that go into that and how we operate. We still have our manufacturers. Silky can tell you that when she was full time at Euro Composites, we spent a lot of time together. We still do that with our manufacturers. We still help our small businesses. Winona primarily works on small business and ag development. She does very little when it comes to Culpeper Tech Zone and business attraction. So we have a person dedicated to helping those smaller operations. And then I'm working on trying to expand the funnel. So that's I think all I had.
How about the traffic, development of traffic, flying in, the flying out, the airport? Connecting Culpeper with the world.
Yeah, we probably, there are some people that enjoy having the airport and having the opportunity for private air. There's some people that actually have looked at Culpeper and they're like, we're a hobby, just like to have a plane and go up for a little bit. So that helps with the airport. We also are really great that we're still just those 50 miles to Dulles, which connects us to, you name the place, and easy to get to. So in our region goes Culpeper down to Nelson County, just past Charlottesville, over to Louisa. We are the only one within an hour of Dulles, which helps because there are projects that want to be close to Dulles within the hour. And if they come to Central Virginia, that puts us top of the list.
Sometimes our customers, let's say the customer within the USA, they ask, can you fly material to us real quick? Because it's light, it does not.
Yeah.
But we would have to have the commercial aspect of flying merchandise out of Culpeper.
Yeah, that would be pretty challenging without substantial customer base that would be utilizing the service. I know Dulles is increasing their air cargo, and that's been a push of the Commonwealth to increase the opportunities of air cargo from Dulles. Okay. But unfortunately, that it would be pretty challenging.
Or a piece of equipment, we have to wait instead of hopping in an airplane, flying there and getting it real quick.
Yeah.
So is there any service anticipated that the pilots fly?
Unless there was.
To get that piece of equipment.
Yeah. Unless there was a company that would be interested in providing that type of service. But I think it'd be difficult to get a permanent without a substantial customer base.
Okay.
Question, Brian?
Yeah.
And for Chris. So when you talk about this Culpeper Tech Zone, is this the component that includes the town and the impact to the town? So not showing the data center that's off of Chandler Street?
We
Is that
do.
on there, or
Yeah,
am I
Copper
gonna
Ridge.
miss That,
Copper Ridge
that's Jim, that's okay.
and Culpeper Technology Campus are the two that are in the town.
Yeah, so this little line. It comes with like,
Well, I see the town line on the left and.
yeah, so
I'm still a little bit geographically challenged here.
that's okay.
See
No, I
the little bump out, cut out into Copper Ridge?
Yes.
National Cemetery,
National Cemetery.
new part of the national.
Gotcha.
So like Copper Ridge,
So this is inclusive, that was my question.
correct, yeah, so for example, Copper Ridge, you know, when we talk about that development, if they have questions about planning, zoning, utilities, that's all town aspects. They have questions that
No.
come,
That's
yeah,
simple
Yeah.
answer, question, yes. Second question, you're an office of two?
we are an office of two.
You're an office of two, who is crunching all this tax data? Are you closely aligned with working with the Commissioner of Revenue? Or what? I mean, there's a lot of information on taxes and projections, is that just what the two of you do, or do you?
So we hired a company for the economic impact analysis. I think the name of the company is Economic Impact Analysis, actually, or I'm trying to
Sounds
remember.
like that's what they do, right?
Yeah, so,
I was just curious.
yeah, there was a
That's a
company.
lot.
Yeah, there's a company that
Your crew, what you do,
we've,
is to accrue.
yeah, we did I did do an analysis myself.
I'm not fact checking.
No, so I did do one myself and, my numbers were a little bit, and what I did was I did just based off of square footage. So I said, okay, if we have 600,000 square feet now, and that brings in X amount, every 600,000 square feet will bring in X amount, and then move that out. That came a little bit higher than his analysis, than the analysis that we got back. The analysis we got back used more numbers based off of average servers per square foot, cost of servers, how many servers could you get in? He did a whole thing.
And I'm not asking
Yeah.
about housing development, that's a whole other conversation. Chris knows what I'm talking about. But in this, it does strike me as interesting with all the work that's going to be required in the next 10 years of people coming and going. Is there any thoughts and plans to expand hotel opportunities and restaurant
We would-
opportunities?
I think it would nothing would make me happier than a hotel. Every developer that we talk to, because they know other developers, they're general contractors, because they do general contracting for other things, is the conversation we bring up every single time. Do you know any hotels? Can we get hotels? The difficulty with hotels is, unlike data centers, they have a very strict pricing when it comes to land. And they still view Culpeper as a market that is not, they still view Culpeper as a market that is fully served with not opportunity. I disagree.
Then say that again?
They view that we have enough hotels today,
The
the developers,
hospital,
the
sorry,
hotel.
hotel developer.
Every conversation we have, they say there's no way it would work. We try to go over this. The difficulty is this type of data center development we're building campus style. So when people say, well, this is like Loudon, it isn't like Loudon. Loudon was building by building by building. This is campus. And the difficulty with that is there's no way to say like, well, in Loudon or in Prince William, this is what happened when it because it was built at such a smaller scale over time. This is going to be much more intensive all in a decade, which gives you a really long runway. Then you look at our projections in a community that's growing. We try to tell that story. We just have not gone over
But these general contractors are gonna go not all the way back and forth to their home base, and I mean also homes. So they're gonna go to a place that in terms of their travel reimbursements and paying their people to.
Oh, yeah.
Where's the best deal? So they're gonna go all stay in Fredericksburg or Charlottesville once we're saturated.
Correct.
Because I see us getting saturated on the hotel front pretty quickly, which indicates your normal historic visit, festival visit traffic that we don't have a place to stay in Culpeper. You're having a wedding, where are you gonna stay? Because it's full of contractors.
Well, most of the contractors are gonna be Monday through Friday. Even, I know one contractor that lives many states away. He's a flight home. And he's never here on the weekends. So they, yes,
If you're wedding on weekend, okay, got it.
you're gonna have to,
I'm not getting married.
yeah. You're gonna have to tell everyone the weekends, but even, my wife and I were trying to do after Airfest a couple years ago. And we were trying to do, of course, Airfest is in October. October's a popular month. Yeah, we couldn't get a hotel. It went from a night without we ended up, It's About Time had a suite that was available, which we stayed, which was fantastic because they give you a little discount on the meal, which was also fantastic. But that's kind of unfortunately the thing that there's a lot of aspects that we're trying to figure out. The small business, you talked about like restaurants and things of that nature. I feel pretty strong that we have the infrastructure in place to make that happen with Carver Food Kitchen, with our small business development, with Facts and Snacks, with Culpeper County Conference. Like, we can provide the support. If you want to launch a food business, we can provide the support somewhere in the county, throughout the county infrastructure. We're looking at industrial land, lay down yard space. That's something that we're trying to figure out how to impact. And then when it comes to construction traffic, the McDevitt roundabout being ready, coming.
And of course, we have a strong culinary program to help feed that. notion.
Correct. So,
Very strong.
when you look at the culinary program, E Squared, like for launching food businesses, that's great. But like construction traffic, the McDevitt roundabout's going to be tremendously helpful. Like, I could not imagine if that was not being built before this.
Yeah, is that the road that runs through Cloud?
Yeah,
Because it doesn't look like it connects.
It's right. This is an old map. We're going to be updating it once a couple people announce. This is a road right here.
Yeah, and that's where the roundabout
That's
would
right
be.
here.
Okay.
It's actually on the tip of Culpeper Tech Campus. Culpeper Tech Campus gave some land for it. So but yeah, there are things that we're actively, I tell all of our data center developers, our goal, I mean, you looked at the tax revenue. Our goal is that this happens as easily as possible for everyone involved, for the county, for the developer, for everyone. Them being built is beneficial to the county. So we are actively trying to do that, but also we want to do it thoughtfully. 0.4% of our entire county being developed for data centers helps us keep it green, allows us to invest in other areas, schools, farm development, all of that. So I do have some annual reports here. I got like 200 ordered because that was the smallest number I could get. So please bring these to all your friends and family.
Beautiful.
And we'll pass them out. The thing about the annual report, just real quick, when you go through, we use this motif of growing because our programs are in different phases of a tree growth. So we have the seedling to the sapling to the full tree. And as you go through, it kind of it gives you my thoughts of where we are on these programmings here at the top. Just kind of a subtle, this is how we see these programs, how much further along we'd like them to be.
You have a presentation available to us?
I can set it up.
Thank you, Brian. Any other questions for Brian?
We were talking about roundabouts earlier. Given where all that is then, coming in from the other side, right? I was saying it just for me, but there's gonna be a need for a roundabout out there by
Yeah,
me.
so
and
Edgecore.
by where, if I'm looking at that right, where at the end of Kaiser there, that's where,
So Edgecore
it's
gave
gonna be a mess.
money for road improvements that would be necessitated by VDOT from any study that VDOT provides. So they did provide money. And Kaiser also, Red Ace, who got the rezoning for the Kaiser farm, they also provided money for that intersection. The intersection at Knowles Mill, when they provide plans for a site plan. They also provide a construction map. Our intent is that we're not utilizing that corridor as we're utilizing it as minimally as possible, just because of the issues that are going there. That if they're coming through the tech zone back to McDevitt, that would be most ideal. And then Edge Core obviously will have to go through that Rogers Bennett 666 intersection. They have, like I said, they've provided money that for anything on the Knowles Mill, any impact that they have that VDOT views. So I believe it was 300,000, but don't quote me on that. I'd have to go back and look. Which does not, Chris can tell you, that does not build a roundabout.
Right.
That barely starts the smell of a roundabout. But that's a VDOT.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Brian. Okay, so now we'll move into our open discussion. Any updates that you guys have for us? And why don't we start online with Trip?
All right. Well, we're